Welcome to Living Martial Arts with Master Ray Gale, aka the Dark Master. Living Martial Arts discusses and examines the everyday exercise, philosophy, and lifestyle of the martial arts enthusiast. The host talks about his own training, past and present, and he also interviews many martial artists to discover how they continue to live their own martial arts journey. Tune in for top tips on how to get the best out of your martial art. Or perhaps you're thinking of starting a martial art. This podcast offers you an easy way to dip your toe in. Sign up for the newsletter at livingmartialarts.com and get regular updates and training tips direct to your inbox. Follow the Dark Master on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at Living Martial Arts. Welcome to Living Martial Arts with Master Ray Gale, aka the Dark Master. Living Martial Arts discusses and examines the everyday exercise, philosophy, and lifestyle of the martial arts enthusiast. The host talks about his own training, past and present, and he also interviews many martial artists to discover how they continue to live their own martial arts journey. Tune in for top tips on how to get the best out of your martial art. Or perhaps you're thinking of starting a martial art. This podcast offers you an easy way to dip your toe in. Sign up for the newsletter at livingmartialarts.com and get regular updates and training tips direct to your inbox. Follow the Dark Master on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at Living Martial Arts.
Hello to all the Living Martial Arts podcast fans. Hope you're all okay. We've got a special podcast, and it's remembering Master John Black, who's very dear to my heart and very dear to two people I've got on with me here. I've got Master Ogborne, and I've also got Mr. Brett Dowling, who is an instructor and in actual fact was one of Master Black's students from a young lad, and has actually gone up now to take over his schools he left with his sad passing. But it's all about remembering the great things about Master Black, the legend that he was, and hopefully you'll get a bit of an overview of the type of person that he was. A lot of people within Puma hear his name, but they don't really know a great deal about him. So this is what this is all about. So how you doing, gents? How are you?
Yeah, fine, thank you, sir.
Good. Excellent. Well, I don't know. I'll start with you, Brett, really, because you, as I said, myself and Master, we knew you as a young lad, and we knew, Master Black, and you grew up as a student with him, and I'm sure he was very influential in many ways in your life. So perhaps you can tell us a little bit about what about the the bond that you had between you.
Yeah, it's difficult to start, really. So, I mean, but most of my memories of Master Black are quite comical, if I'm honest. Because I think most people are.
Ours are comical too.
But I mean, I spent a lot of time with Master Black. I think because I was very keen on Taekwondo. My dad used to take me a lot, and he used to spend a lot of time outside of the classes with us. Sure. Particularly kind of a Friday evening, he'd be at our house and he was showing us. Sorry, sir.
No, I was going to say he was particularly friendly and particularly proud of yourself and your brother Danny. He always talks about you, both of you, with us, with myself and Master O. And I don't know why did he particularly have that bond with you guys?
I don't know, sir. I think I might have been a little bit slightly oblivious to that because I saw him as like he was like that with everyone in a way. So it wasn't until a bit later on when I used to go and help him with gradings and stuff like that I realised that sort of he was very kind of honoured to spend that extra time with him. But I mean. I think he enjoyed the interest in the martial arts, and
definitely,
just kind of had a lot in common as time went on. really.
Yeah. Well, I think. I mean, from my point of view, and probably Master Earl probably mentioned this, but it was always very sort of obvious when we came down to sort of Exeter, Devon with him, and there was yourself and Danny. He was always very, very proud of you, and he was always singing your praises, both of you, about the fact that your ability as martial artists. And I think I mean, obviously he was a lovely chap. But I think what he saw in you was the fact that you were both keen on martial arts, you loved martial arts, and you were nice guys. You were nice guys, and I think the thing, and that sounds a bit strange, but thinking Master Black, he did love people that loved martial arts, but always was nice people as well. Not overly aggressive or big-headed or whatever. You were very balanced, both of you, and I think he saw that in you. Well, I don't know what your thoughts there, Master.
No, I totally agree. I think my observations, looking back to Brett, know him as a. How old were you when you started, Brett?
I was 7, sir.
Yeah, I remember. So I think that with Master Black, he loved people who loved the martial arts because that was his life, that was his love. And there's two things for me that stood out with him was that the love for Taekwondo and martial arts, Taekwondo in particular, of course, but also loyalty. Yeah. And I think that, that's the two things that you exude. And I think that's why he took a liking, not only to you, but, to your brother and your family, your mum and dad, that wherever he went, wherever he went, you guys followed him. And that was the same with us. We followed him everywhere. And he was always gracious, wasn't he? He was infectious, lovely man who, once you met him, you'd never forget him. And once you got his friendship, then you had his loyalty. And so therefore, I think myself and Master Gal are very loyal to our friends and colleagues. And so therefore, that's why we all fitted in well together.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that loyalty is a rare quality, I find, and people that are sort of loyal to each other. And I think, yeah, definitely, that was one of the huge qualities of Master Black. If he showed people that sort of came into his life and was in his life a bit and loved the martial arts, whatever, he had that loyalty and that friendship with them. And I think that, as Master Ogborne mentioned there, because yourself and Danny were always very loyal to, and it came over as if you'd do anything for him, which I'm sure you would, and it was great. It was great. It was a fantastic thing to see. And I think it's important. I mean, people listen to this, myself, Master O, and yourself now, Brett. I mean, we teach people from a very young age, and we have a massive influence on their life, a massive influence. And it's something that, we should, as instructors, we don't take lightly. You can say, you can build a person up and you can take them down very, very quickly with just a few words. So it's important to, ensure that we're always building people, really, rather than knocking them down. I think that's really, really important to do. So you mentioned, Brett, that, the comical side of him. So what was it like learning under him? How did that comedy manifest itself?
Well, I think it was, it helped to, with there being so many children around, his kind of comical character was, it was sort of really captivating, I think, as a junior. I think because I trained with other people that, sort of, it's quite difficult as a junior to grasp what they're saying, but, he had an amazing way, particularly with children, I think. There's even seeing him kind of using Taekwondo in a like physical Taekwondo in a non-Taekwondo manner. I mean, just a very fond kind of memory of mine is myself and a friend, Mr. Humphreys, that was we were both sat waiting for my dad and Master Black to stop or to have a chat in the car park for however long, and not really getting impatient but messing around, beat the horn in the car, and Master Black just instantaneously turned around, knife hand guard and block, ready to kind of take on whatever it was, and we couldn't get a hold of ourselves. It was so funny. Yeah, but he done it like it was nothing and just carried on talking. Yeah, I must have been training for about maybe 2 or 3 years at this stage, and yeah, it was the first time I'd seen him do anything like that. Yeah, I think it just showed how ingrained his taekwondo was, and it was just an instant. Yeah, it was brilliant.
Well, you mentioned there about his the fitness side, and a lot of people who knew him towards the end of his life probably didn't realize what a fitness guru he was. But man, I tell you what, he could really, really kick it in those early days from fitness. Myself and Master, obviously, we were sort of privy to that on some of the training sessions that he did. But he certainly loved his fitness, and the people listening to this may not realize that he was a physical training instructor in the army. That's where his fitness sort of passion, I would say, came from, and along with the martial arts, particularly in his early days, it was a great combination. Just having that fitness to be able to, do a good martial arts class and come out feeling good. So,
he also, sorry to interrupt, he had a slot on local TV as well, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Where in between the news and the start of the evening programs, we do a fitness class, and he was known as Captain Fitness, wasn't he, down in the Devon area, and going sort of full circle, he Newton Abbott gave him the town hall to represent his life at his funeral, and that was lovely, wasn't it, that they could give that back to him.
Yeah, no, it's really, really, really nice. He also, you may remember this more than me, Master, because you're passionate about cricket. But did he do some stuff for Somerset Cricket Club?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he was their fitness coach, wasn't he?
Yeah.
For quite a long time.
Yeah. I mean, that was quite impressive. I mean, Somerset's professional cricket scene. So
yes,
must have seen something in him. Apart from the madness.
Yeah. I mean, he would come up, wouldn't he, with lots of photographs, and he'd bring, signed pictures and newspaper cuttings, and where he and Botham was down at Somerset at the time. Everyone knows, I imagine they know who he is. So yeah, he was teaching all those people, wasn't he? All those years. So yeah, that's quite an accolade at the time.
Yeah, I think it is. What for you, Brett? You've gone on and you've sort of you've taken his legacy forward, really in the area of Devon. You're still there. You're still teaching. Probably his thought, his memories, always in your thoughts. I mean, how does it feel now? Sort of. I know it's been a long time. You've taken over his school a long, long time ago. But what was it like at first? Did you find that tough?
I did, yeah, but particularly after he passed, and I took on the Newton Abbott School. I was already doing the Exeter thing. I think the main reason it was so hard was because of the circumstances, and sort of missing him like we did, and being a shock and all the rest of it. But yeah, no, it was quite daunting to start with, to think that that the person that had just been sort of running this, I was kind of trying to keep that going in their footsteps in a way. It was quite daunting. I was very sort of doubtful of what I could do. But yeah, I mean, I remember speaking to yourself about that briefly, and I remember you said that he said numerous times that's what he wanted, and that that was sort of, he believed in me, and that that helped. I mean, I'd heard him tell me that many times, but it was kind of just reassuring. But yeah, I think the most important thing is kind of trying to follow how he did things. I always got the impression that when he was teaching us anything at all, he was teaching us it because he loved doing it, and it's what he would love to do if he was in a class.
Yeah,
so that kind of transpiring that across it seems to go down well. And
Yeah, definitely. I think I think he's done well taking over a class from someone like Master Black. With his sort of his personality is quite a daunting task. People probably don't realize. They think, one person stops teaching, another person stops teaching. But when you've got someone with such a strong personality, then you have to come in and follow behind that. That is really tough. And along with everything else that you're going through because of the loss of this person, it's very, very difficult to deal with. And it's not something that, I hope it's not something that people have to do on a regular basis, because it is very, very hard.
I think Brett has done a magnificent job. I know that Master Black would have been very proud of him, wouldn't he? You want nobody else to take that class but Brett. And there was lots of people holding their hands up at the time, if you remember Master Gal. But I think the legacy continues with Brett, and he's doing a fabulous job down there.
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt. And I think that, as Master Ogborne said, just to reiterate that, he would be really, really pleased with what's happened to it. The fact that you've done it, you've kept it going, and it's still doing well. You've got some good people down there, some good black belts. Well done to you. Well done to you. It's a very, very hard act to follow. And sort of coming back to your sort of early years of training with Master Black, and you mentioned your dad there as well, because he had a very good relationship with Master Black as well. I remember chatting with your dad, and he was, he worked very, very, very hard for Master Black, and did a lot of the donkey work. Let's put it that way, a lot of the paperwork. Because Master Black, one thing we know, if you know Master Black, his paperwork was atrocious. His paperwork was atrocious. So, fair play to your dad for sort of taking that on. But again, he was very loyal to Master Black as well, and vice versa. Master Black consistently talked about Charlie, and what a good job he was doing. I don't know whether that came over to you when you were young.
Yeah, it did. Particularly in, I don't know, an instance like something on the admin side that he'd left my dad to deal with as such. And then he needed to kind of consult Master Black about it. And, he would just say, whatever you say, I'll back you up. It's not a second thought. And I had that occasionally with sort of maybe like teaching discrepancies or something, or you just don't worry, Brett, I'll back you up. But it was, didn't sort of think twice. The loyalty. It was nice. I think he trusted that, we weren't doing anything that was, out of hand or anything like that. So he sort of had the trust there, and that worked both ways as well.
Definitely. Well, listen, Brett, I want to thank you for coming on. Myself and Master Ogborne are going to continue a little bit of a chat about our relationship with him, how we knew him, that side of it. But I just want to say thank you, really, to you for taking the time to come on the podcast, giving your experiences. I know it's quite tough because, like I said, you sort of knew him when you were, the impression you get when you're younger is very, very different when you're older. And we sort of knew maybe a different side to him as well. He had many sides and a very, very strong side as well. If he didn't suffer fools, actually, or he suffered them for a little bit, and then you find out. he did that on occasion as well. And I saw him bite a number of people, and so he did have that very, very strong side to him. But thanks very much for that. And,
thank you for having me, sir.
No, you're very welcome. And also as well, if anybody listening to this is in the Devon area, you'd like to do some martial arts, we'll put a link to Devon Martial Arts, Mr. Brett Dowling, in the show notes, and get in touch. He's a great instructor, and he's carrying on the legacy of Master Black, which is great. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very
much. Well done, Brett. Great job, buddy.
See you soon. See you soon.
Excellent.
So, Master O, carrying on with Master Black and the memory of him, I think it's important to say how we met. I'm quite happy to begin with this, or if you want to crack on how we met him, which was many, many moons ago in a army camp down in Taunton. So,
yeah, I mean, my first recollection was we had this new area. There was a black belt team championship in the new area, which is where we learn our martial arts, obviously in the Southwest. We got a team together. I think you just got your black belt. I think I was a blue belt, wasn't
I? Yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And we were training to fight the current world and European champions within that organization. Just come back from the ITF World Championships in Argentina. And we got a team together to fight all these guys. And the Dutch were coming over, and they were European champions at the time.
Yes.
And they had a team. And, we were young, up and coming. How old were we? Must have been late teens, early 20s.
Yeah, maybe early 20s. I'm not sure, to be honest.
Yeah.
I would think it was early 20s because it was 80s, wasn't it? It was very early 80s.
Yeah. Yeah, so I thought it was about 19, 20, but anyway, that was quite daunting. So we heard that this one of the black belts. I think we met him before then. I can't remember where or how, but the first time we got to know him was he organised this training session down in Taunton. Was it? No, not Taunton. It was down in the Marine base near. Not between Plymouth and Exeter.
Okay, yeah, I knew it was a military base. I wasn't sure which one it was.
Yeah, I don't know if it's Taunton or down wherever. But anyway, we went down there, and he laid this hall on for us. And afterwards, we had the swimming pool. We went in there, and then
Limpstone.
Yeah, Limpstone. Yeah, thanks. I think Brett nudged us on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he laid on the food, and it was just, wow, who is this guy? He was so energetic. He loved, he instantly took a liking to me and you. He was very kind to us. And he was such a funny character. Obviously held a bit of status because he was a PTI instructor, physical training instructor in the Marines. And so, he was racing around the place, but, we had the use of the swimming pool, the hall, and it was quite a tough event, leading up to fight against this big event up in the Midlands. And yeah, he was just so gracious, wasn't he? He was a lovely guy, and that was obviously my first big memory of him, and how fit he was. He took the training session, or part of it, and we were absolutely exhausted. I've never known anything like it. And he as you said earlier, he continued to be like that until his last days. My memory of it as well was going on the summer camps. He was like super fit, and he would get himself ready for that camp, and he would drag us along to it. Although you didn't really need much pushing or inspiration, but I did. And he was brilliant to me. He was just so kind and helped me get my fitness up and ready, for the week's events or tournaments, even to the fact that I think the World Championships, one that I won at individual gold, he would come up every Wednesday to Bristol. Sorry about that. I got a helicopter site near me. That's the
Oh no, that's okay.
Yeah. On Wednesdays he would come up. Tuesdays he would come up. The odd Tuesday, odd Wednesday, and he would put me through my paces. And where you had all the bawling and shouting, which I aspire to, and I still do it myself. I'm trying to get people up, to compete in championships. He would do that, but he would always be very gracious as well, give us lots of inspiration. He would do that to me. He'd come back, he was actually saying, flipping heck, I think you're going to win this. And I was just wanting to survive. I had the confidence that I could win. I had the confidence that I could survive and could possibly win, but it was more survival because I knew there's some big hitters out there. The World Championships that we got involved in, you had WACO World Champions coming in from all over the world, and he just kept saying, "Oh, you're looking really good, Marky. You're going to win this. You're going to win this." So that was my sort of vivid memory of myself with him.
Yeah.
Going back to that initial time where I first saw him and thought, "Wow, he was all in green that day with his combat fatigues." And then I think he came in with a white shirt and some navy bottoms, which was his training outfit. and sort of Mr. Fitness, and then carried it through to sort of the highest point in my Taekwondo career. So yeah, what a lovely guy, always generous and always nice, giving out compliments to everybody.
Yeah, no, I mean, my experience is very much the same. One thing I do remember about that first meeting is his insistence that we need to have tea.
Yeah.
Have a cup of tea. No, that's right. No, you got to have one. You got to have a cup of tea. I said, I don't want tea. Well, you got to have it. You got to have it. he was always a big one for his tea, wherever he went, and that never changed. When we were on summer camp, he'd make the tea and then he'd give us a commentary. Yeah, I'm just putting the water in there, guys. I'm just putting the water. Oh, the tea bags are going in. The tea bags going in.
Oh my gosh!
And we'd have this running commentary of him.
I'm making a cup of tea, a pot of tea. He was like that with everything. When we go away on train weekends or camps or competitions, he would give running commentaries, wouldn't he? All the time, consistently. Right, I'm just putting my socks on now, guys. Shut up. It was, and my dad was an old soldier guy, and we used to love watching. What was the program with the It Ain't Half Hot, Mum?
Yeah, Windsor Davies, yeah.
Windsor Davies. There was that sort of iconic show about the army personnel in India, and they were on national service because that was a big thing, was it? Even for us, joining the army or joining the navy or one of the forces, and because he was in the army, he used to rattle back to all that, the way he did fitness, the way he took his classes, and also the way that he would be regimented in everything that he did. But he was quite fluffy in his head as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. But I think that's why he.
That was his persona, though. I think he definitely hammed that up quite a lot as well, didn't he?
Well, I think that's why he valued our friendship, because he would often say, you guys are just like the army guys. I know you got my back and stuff like that. And he'd say that quite often. And looking back now, he felt secure with us, and that we did back, and we would always be there for him, which was important. Sort of going back a little bit, he started his martial arts in China as well. He used to tell us about his.
Well, it's Hong Kong, wasn't it? Because he was serving out in Hong Kong.
Yeah, and he used to tell us about that. I remember he told me this story about a lot of people who are listening to this that don't know about the sort of traditions of the early martial arts. Where, you never go in and ask for your belt. And I remember he said he asked for his belt, and the instructors just looked at him, gave everyone else a belt, and carried on taking the class. And he said it was 3 months later he actually got his belt.
Yeah, and that still rings true today, doesn't it? Within the organisation that we're a part of, and previous training methods, that you never asked to take a grading, you never asked, for your new belt, even if you passed the grading. You would never ask. It was always awarded to you.
Yes, that's right.
I think that's a great way to actually continue in the martial arts, because in today's society it's the opposite, isn't it? If you've got the money, you get it. Whatever you want, you can have it. And you've got to look at our children and the way that they're being brought up. 300, 400 pounds pair of trainers, and they keep nagging, and eventually, parents give into it. But in those days, it was the opposite.
Yeah.
Sorry?
And then they want another pair.
Yeah. And they play football in it, and they're dirty, and then they want another pair. Yeah. So, it's definitely the journey in martial arts that makes it worthwhile. And he was very traditional on that front. In fact, he was our backbone, wasn't he? He would always tell people off if they ever, very rarely, but when he did, it was quite scary, wasn't it? Quite frightening.
Yeah, it was like a switch being turned on.
Yeah, I can think of a half dozen times that he did it.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter who it was, how high up they were, or how familiar they were. I mean, he did it to me once. I overstepped the mark with him. Just sort of having, we had fun all the time, as the three of us, just continually on cloud nine. But I remember once I overstepped the mark with him. Remember, he was older than us and higher grade than us. Oh my God, he roasted me, and he let me know about it. And looking back on it, of course I deserved it. He wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
It was something quite trivial, but to him, I'd overstepped the mark, and he put me in my place. But I don't remember that time, but that was like, wow.
I remember a couple of times when he did that, because and it's interesting because you never saw that side of him very often.
Not many people saw that, yeah.
Not many people did, but when you did, you think, wow, I mean, he was he'd really go for it. It's like a switch just gone. Somebody's just pressed the switch, gone bang. He'd go from 0 to 100 in a few seconds. But I think there's a couple of instances I want to mention, and the first one was when we met the founder of Taekwondo, Major General Che Hong-hee, and I remember when Master Black was along with us, and I'm sure you remember this. He kept asking General Che quite personal questions, and you could see General Che getting a little bit uncomfortable as time went on. And all of a sudden, General Che looked at me and said, "Right, no, actually, it was General Che. No more personal questions."
Yeah,
everybody went quiet. Master Black went quiet. We thought, "Uh-oh."
Yeah.
he's in trouble there. But that was quite a funny moment.
It was, because we had great fun about teasing him afterwards, because he was so excited to see the founder of Taekwondo, and he just couldn't believe it. Even he got given an ITF badge, didn't he, in Hong Kong?
Yeah.
And he wanted to give it to General Che as a gift.
Yeah.
And of course, everybody on the planet, once they got to black belt, they were given a
ITF.
Oh, yeah.
badge.
Oh God, it's so funny.
General Che said, "We'll have lots of those," or something like that.
Everyone around the table had one. But obviously, to John, his was from Hong Kong, so it was special. But it was because if you all put them in a hat, you wouldn't know them apart, would you? But
mind you, I don't think General Che knew that. But the other thing I was going to mention was that if anybody ever went anywhere with him and he was driving, it was like taking your life in your hands.
Oh my gosh, yeah. But he got caught speeding a number of times, didn't he?
Well, and it's not so bad if you're speeding and you're looking at the road.
Yeah.
If you were sat behind him in the back seat,
you'd be turning around.
And I've started talking to you. And you go, whoa, watch the road.
Yeah, and they go, whoa, I go flipping heck, John. In fact, if you remember, in the end, we used to drive him everywhere, didn't we?
Yeah. So
we'd pick him up, we'd meet him somewhere, we'd always drive. Yeah.
You wouldn't let him take the wheel. We just said, no, don't worry, we'll drive.
Yeah, he was legendary on that front. Everybody knew, didn't they?
And he, not only was that, he'd have that on there, and then he'd have the music on really loud.
He'd be singing and dancing to it.
He'd have music. He'd be talking to people in the back, and not concentrate on the road. You'd think, wow, how ever survive?
And he always had those pocket rockets as well, didn't he? He had XR3, XR3i. He had a Peugeot GTI, all these fast racy cars.
Yeah, he loved his.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah. A bit racing, but looking back at it, I mean, they were great times. We had some real fun together. Whenever we went away, it was always going to be a laugh. And the thing about it, talk about going away. I remember, or going out. I remember, us, for example, at Christmas time going out clubbing, and everybody knew him. The bouncers on the door. Hi, Black.
We got on everywhere free, didn't we?
It was like going out with a top sportsman where he was on TV.
He was a celebrity. You literally, I mean, went to one nightclub, and I always remember the DJ said, "Hey, everybody, Johnny B is in the house," and the whole nightclub started cheering, jumping up and down.
Yeah,
and he was next to us. We were thinking, John, him, he's Blackie. It's unbelievable. And then, there's lots of, I mean, I remember I went to see a concert. It was like an open air outdoor show where it was a seaside resort, Sidmouth, and they had Bad Manners down there, and at a folk festival. And I was sat there with who I was with at the time, and we just sat there enjoying the music. And there must have been, 1,000 people there. And all of a sudden there was this big, movement of people to the right, and all people all waving and shouting, saying, "Oh, must be the next act coming on." And it was Blackie with like an entourage of all the fitness ladies from one for Sports Centre and all the other sports centres on a night out, and he was waving to everybody, and I was going up to him. They came out though, and I remember I went up to him. I remember, we were best friends, absolutely best friends. I remember going up to him, and he was, "Hello, Marky, how are you?" And other people kept butting in. He said, "Hold on a minute." He's talking to me. Yeah, I'll be with you in a minute. I'm thinking, crikey, it's like being with, I don't know, the Queen or Prince Philip or some other dignitary in Devon. Absolutely unbelievable.
It's you mentioned something there, the music, and you'll have been privy to this, but I'd be driving home from my class at 10 o'clock at night, and all of a sudden I get the phone, and then in the background would be music. Oh, listen to this, bruv! Listen to this, bit. And he'd love his music, and he'd be there for about 3 minutes without talking, just the music going. And I've got my phone going. Yeah, okay, yeah, all right. And he was always like, I'd be at home, exactly the same, or he'd leave music on the answer phone.
And he'd be rapping to it. Rapping with it, leaving messages.
So, and that's what he was like. Like genuinely, sometimes when my phone rings late at night, I think, but oh no, it's not Blackie.
Yeah.
Because he did it so often.
Yeah, and he also used to get messages through to Radio 1, didn't he?
He did, yes. Yeah.
Radio 1 would he would be on to Radio 1 all the time. I remember I was coming back, going to a cricket match on a Saturday afternoon. There was no taekwondo on, so I played the odd game of cricket, listening to the radio, and there's a big up to all the people taking part in the Sidmouth or Dawlish or whatever fate show with good luck to all the taekwondo people today. Johnny Black, hey, how did he manage to get on Radio 1? And the amount of people up and down the country, go to a championship and they would say, yeah, we heard Blackie was on the radio again the other day, thinking, wow,
I know.
Just on it all the time.
It was great. But I mean, we were lucky enough, very privileged and honoured to have been, one of his close friends, and one of his sort of confidants. I do miss him all the time, particularly at different events where you think, we need someone to cheer this up. You can always guarantee that Blackie would just say something or do something, and everybody would relax. That was the sort of influence he had.
Yeah, definitely. Lovely man. We're truly blessed to have him as a friend, weren't we? Yeah,
I'm going to try and, again, people listening to this, if you go to livingmartialarts.com, I'm going to put some pictures up of us with Master Black, and have a look at them. You'll get a bit of a sense of his fun, what he was like. But more than that, he was just a lovely man, and we miss him.
Yeah, we miss him badly. Miss him dearly. He's a lovely man.
But Master, I want to thank you very much for coming on to this and giving your thoughts about Master Black in this podcast, Remembering Master Black. Hopefully people will get an idea when they hear his name, they'll know what he's all about and why we loved him so much. So, thank you for that.
Yeah, you too, my friend.
Okay, you take care, and I'll catch up with you very, very soon. So again, all the Living Martial Arts podcast fans, have a look at my blog, livingmartialarts.com. There's some info on there. You'll see some pictures of Master Black and, our times with him. Okay, see you soon. Oh, sorry, right. We've got another one of our Puma instructors, Mrs. Karen Parker, who knew Master Black back in the early days in the 80s, and is going to just talk a little bit about the legend that is Master John Black. So, hi, Karen, how are you?
I'm all right, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, you knew, there's not many people around, actually, that knew John Black, Master Black, back in those early days. And, you are one of them. So, I don't know, go for it. What can you say about him?
Well, I've tried to keep it succinct because I could talk about Master Black for such a long time. I like to call him, as I always called him, Jazzy B. He's always been Jazzy B to me. I know he's got his proper names, but that was what he was to me. And like you say, I knew him from a very early stage in the TAGB. I could probably laugh and cry during this because his imprint on me is massive, and it's still with me. So first of all, he was always had a problem with names. So he used to call me Carrie. I don't know who Carrie was, but I always answered to it. There's a West Country use of, I shouldn't own up to this because people hopefully won't cotton on. I hate being called Car. It is a West Country thing, but there's about a small handful of people that I allow it to slide by because they're so endearing. So he used to call me Car or Carrie or just forget. He is still with me because there's a song that I hope people will look up. I have mentioned it to you just after he passed away, and I listen to it regularly. I do a lot of swimming, cycling and running, so I'm out doing endurance stuff, and I like to remember things. And he is a strong, very strong, consistent memory that appears, very often during the week or the month or the year. It's a song called Cartoon Heroes by Aqua. Okay. And if you look at the lyrics and read the lyrics, there's not too many of them. But the chorus is, "We are cartoon heroes." And to me, he is a hero, and he was a bit of a cartoon in life as well, a real life one. So those of you that don't know him, he was Spider-Man on all the junior summer camps. As time went on, the Spider-Man used to duplicate and then triplicate and then quadruplicate. And I was never entirely sure, racing out the bushes on the night walks to give the children some extra entertainment to spot Spider-Man. Mostly it was him, but there was other people that joined in his fun, which was infectious. And there was lots of Spider-Men, and nobody would ever own up to who was one or the other. And you could only go by height. I've got my suspicions as to who the others were, but I honestly don't know. And that's the sort of charm he had over people. He encouraged them to be more colourful. So to me, he is Spider-Man, which goes to that Aqua song, which Spider-Man is in, and Superman's in it also. And to me, he was a Superman as well. Yes. I can still see him. I can still hear him. And, he is infectious. He taught me once a lesson on short sticks. Sorry, I don't know the real name for short stick martial arts. Yeah. But it was so inspiring. I didn't get 99% of it, but I wanted to learn so very much more and more and more of it. It was just entertaining from start to finish. I think I'll stick to chopsticks, but if you ever taught by him, you became so enthusiastic. It didn't matter what he was teaching. It could be walking stance, it could be sitting stance, it could be the short sticks from one extreme to the other, but it was entertaining. He did infect you with, the most wonderful plague to learn more and to listen. But he did it with such humour that you couldn't take your eyes or your ears away from him. And he was like this with everybody. And then he would disappear. I'm relating this to the summer camps, which he was always such a huge part of back in the early days. He would disappear, come back with different clothes on, often with a toothbrush hanging out of his mouth, multitasking as always as he did. And there was one special top, which people more recently may remember, his bright yellow beach rescue top.
Yeah.
Now, to me, that sort of epitomizes everything about him, really, because it said beach rescue on it. And I have to say, I would trust him with my life. He would rescue anybody. And I mean, not just those people he knew. He would literally react to any situation to help out. He was impulsive. He couldn't help but care about people. And it was from the most random person in the street to those that were stood next to him. His eyes and his ears were always literally on 100%. Although I have to admit, at the drop of a hat, he could turn into a dormouse and fall asleep.
Yeah.
which I'm not surprised, because he was such high energy. And I know that sometimes, he struggled, with his high energy, but he just took it all in his stride, and, he had an effect on everybody, certainly me. And And he does leave a footprint on your soul. I'm afraid he does. You know, he has touched my soul. He is in my soul, and he's very much around me during, you know, any part of the year, like I said. And just to finish with how his effect was so profound on me was I actually changed the way I taught. I opened my first club in 1994, but I was teaching prior to that. And it wasn't until maybe 5 years later that I'd been taught quite a lot by him. And the style of teaching with his humour was so charismatic and so captivating. I thought I have to learn how to put that into my teaching. And I literally grew it. And his style of teaching was my seed to improve my ability in class. And I still use it because it works. You and I came from a very serious style of class, you know. Yes. I'm sorry to say it was mostly guys. It was, you know, a few women, a few children, but predominantly it was men. But as times changed, we've got a totally different style of classes now. They're really inclusive. And just to make, so our style was very serious and quite hard and quite grueling. And then you meet Jazzy B, Master Black, and you think, no, you can teach in a different way. You can teach with humour, with fun, with laughter, and come out brimming with knowledge and have the best time. So I stole it. I duplicated it. I'm nowhere near as good as him. But that's what I took from him, and I hold it very dear to my martial arts heart. So he did have an effect on me, and there's so much more I could say about him.
Excellent. Well, crikey, you said a lot there. I just want to, you know, for the people listening, bring back a couple of things. And you mentioned about the short stick, but whatever he was teaching, he'd go, "Oh yeah, do this," and before you done it, he'd go, "Oh, and try this." And
I know.
And then before you've done that, try this. So in the end, you just love the fact that he was so enthusiastic. He wanted to show you everything he knew, all within 5 minutes. And in the end, you didn't get any of it, but it was so nice.
You did. You'd spend an hour with him, and it would feel, I'm not joking, like 5 minutes. Yeah. You get so confused because you just start doing the drill, and we'd be on to the next one. But I'm sorry, they were they are the top of my list of lessons, and I know I learned something because I can remember them now. And I can't say that for everybody that I've been taught by. Yes, I've learned something, but does it stick right in my mind, right at the forefront? Yeah. His does.
Yeah. Oh, excellent. No, well, thank you for that. And the other thing that you mentioned, the bright yellow top, which I have some pictures, and those people listening to this, if you go to livingmartialarts.com, you'll be able to see some of those pictures, and Master Black in his bright yellow rescue top, which became infamous. so I just want to say thank you very, very much for sharing your thoughts on Master Black. We all miss him, and hopefully his memory, well, not hopefully, it will his memory does live on and will live on. So thank you for that. Thank you.
No, thank you for letting me just say a few words about one incredible guy that we will never ever forget.
No, definitely not. Hi, it's me, the Dark Master. We're back with someone else who knew Master Johnny Black very well, trained under him as one of his students. We've got Miss Louise Reeve. She's one of our Puma martial arts instructors, teaches in the Bristol area, Clifton and Henleys. And I said, had great knowledge about Master Black in the early days. So how are you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing great, and really happy to talk about Captain Fitness again.
Excellent. Well, perhaps you can tell us a little bit about him. We've had a few people on talking about him, and everybody that knew him probably had a slightly different relationship, but also had a lot of similarities, experience with him as well. So perhaps you can tell us a little bit about your experience with him.
Yeah. I mean, I started there early 90s. So I think 91, I started there, and I've got just crazy memories, to be honest. It was a mixed class. We had adults and juniors all in together, and it was huge. The class was massive. It was just the biggest thing. And it was quite old fashioned with the structure. So, black belts would come in and they would sort of stand on one side of the hall and we would stand on the other, and we couldn't really mix. And I think the thing that I remember about Master Black was that he was actually really keen for us all to just get on, and he was a very, very kind person, and he was always the biggest personality in the room. No one could match him. He walked in and the whole room just shifted slightly. And I've got so many very particular memories as well. I mean, with nowadays, it's always funny when I'm talking to my students about going to a demo, because it's such a big deal going to a demo now. But in those days, every weekend was demo day. It just happened. That was expected. I think one in particular. Well, I almost remember every single one of them for different reasons. But there was, for instance, probably mid-90s when Mortal Kombat came out, he managed to get us a gig doing a demo in the middle of the biggest cinema in Exeter while this movie was premiering, and people just wanted to get their tickets. They just wanted us to get out of the way and get their tickets. But it was that was an experience. But it was things like demos in car parks and on the high street. He'd just suddenly say, "Yeah, we're meeting at outside this shop. Come along." And then all of a sudden we get there and we were doing a demo on the pavement, and people had to walk around us. And he'd get celebrities. He was such a magnetic personality. He would get celebrities to come in. So he would have people like well-known DJs. I couldn't name any of them, to be honest, but they were, everyone else seemed to know who they were. Yeah. And he'd come in and he'd teach them how to do destruction right there. He'd say, "Oh, come and break a board. Come and break it." It's the least radio-friendly thing you could imagine. But he would be teaching them how to break a board while this guy was speaking on the microphone, saying, "Right now, he's showing me how to do this, and now I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do a big Kia." And it's hilarious. The whole thing was just hilarious, to be honest. And that I think that's probably one of my biggest memories of Master Black, was his infectious joy of everything, just of everything that he did. And it's very much how I try and teach now. I'm aware that I've kind of got almost a double whammy with my teaching.
Yes,
I teach like both my instructors. So I've got yourself, and so I teach very much like you, because whatever you teach on Tuesday, I teach on Wednesday. Right. But also because of the absolute infectious joy that he would bring to every single class, be it juniors or adults or a mixed class. It made no difference. Everyone left with a big smile on their face, and that to me is what it's all about. If you can get people enjoying what they're doing, it won't matter if it takes them 5 years to do a grading, because they'll come back because they love it. And that's the journey, isn't it? That's the journey.
Well, it is, and sort of just coming back to one of the things you said there about his infectious personality. And many moons ago, I did a trial for gladiators in the early 90s. And
I remember that.
Hunter the Gladiator was there, and all of a sudden, Master Black made this connection with him. So much so that we ended up doing a television program with Hunter, showing him how to do taekwondo. It was actually hosted by Vanessa Feltz, funny enough, but it was all because of Master Black, because he said, and he kept going on about, "Oh yeah, this is my friends, these are my friends, he's world champion, and he's this and he's that and whatever." And all of a sudden Hunter goes, "Oh great, well, would you like to do something with me?" And that was it really. So I think it was something at the time which I knew, but now with him gone, so evident. Because there's no one really like that around, and I miss him because of that. I was quite a celebrity in Exeter, because when I ever came down to visit him, he introduced me to everyone. In Exeter, it was just unbelievable.
He was a promoter of people, wasn't he?
He was
the art, but of the people in it, and that's why he was the heart soul. I think he was just the most amazing promoter of human being and of human nature and kindness. He just promoted compassion and kindness, and I think that was in a really joyous way, and I think that was very telling. I think that's probably one of the unifying things that we're all going to say about him, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think also as well, and I obviously thought a lot about this, and one of the things that I think he had a real sort of, I call it a talent. I think it was just something inborn, but he could talk to a white collar worker and a blue collar worker, or if you want to call them like that, or any type of person from any background, and have some kind of connection, and eventually just get them laughing and smiling as if they'd known each other for years. he had that sort of that kind of personality, which was really unique actually in martial arts at that time. Certainly in those early days where martial arts were very sort of stiff upper lip, and you weren't allowed to smile or laugh or whatever. He totally blew those rules apart.
Oh, absolutely. I remember training at the academy, it was a bit of a crossover at certain times when I was training at the academy coming up from my black belt, and the difference was huge. It was really quite difficult to go into that really strict where you're not allowed to have any fun. You're not allowed to show the joy that you have in what you're doing, because it's just not done. It's not that you don't want to have joy, but it's just not done in a public way. And it made us, I think it made us all very forgiving of him as well, because he was just such an amazing person that when things did go wrong, it was okay. Because I know we're talking at the moment about my belt, and that the one thing that I will always take with me forever is the fact that he could never get my name right.
Yeah,
never get my name right.
Oh, you weren't special about that. I could get my name right.
I can believe that. I can believe it. But I literally had I must have had about 15, 16 different names while I was in Exeter for that during that time. And I used to go and compete quite a lot, and he was very good at getting all of us in the papers. So I wasn't anything special, but he was very good at promoting us all. But I don't think I ever had 2 news articles written about me with the same name.
Yeah.
It was, I think he had another student that also started with REE. And so he used to just muddle us up. And I was Revis, I was Lewis, I was Lou, that sort of thing. And I remember a reporter coming around at one point, and we'd just done a bit of a demo, and they had done some publicity shots for the paper. And she went to him, okay, can I have names? And he got to mine, and he went, she's Louis and she came over to me and said, is your name Rara? And I said, no, it's just that you can't remember what my name is, don't worry. But she thought I was Louis Rara. But I think he didn't, his memory wasn't the best thing, but it didn't matter. It just didn't matter. No one cared.
Well, listen, thanks ever so much for sharing some of those thoughts. Really, really appreciate it. And as I said on some of the other ones I've talked to, they're always we all had a slightly different relationship with him, but there was some very, very sort of common threads running through the relationships. The fact that he was a lovely guy, and he'd always have a chat. He was always fun and so on. So I'm hoping that people will get a bit of a picture of what type of guy he was and why he is so missed now.
I must admit, I miss him every day. At every single event that we go to, I miss him. He was always on the door. He was always the person who would greet everyone and smile at everyone. And he could definitely turn a bad day around, couldn't he, just by being in the room? So
definitely.
I miss him.
Well, thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it. And,
no, thank you, sir. Thank you.
I'm sure people will get a great picture about the sort of guy he was. Thanks very much. Thank you. Oh, hi, this is the Dark Master coming back with someone else who knew Master Black quite well. We have Michelle Cole, who works in our admin department for Puma Martial Arts. And again, we're all just talking about Master Black, what he was like, and maybe the influence he had on us, or perhaps the influence we saw he had on other people. So how are you doing, Michelle? How are you? I'm
good, thank you very much.
Excellent. So, as I mentioned, I mean, you knew Master Black. There's not many of us around now that knew him that well, but what can you tell us about him?
Yeah, I think I knew him really well, because obviously living in Plymouth and him living in Exeter, and never wanting to drive, I used to drive him around quite a lot to lots of Puma events, competitions, winter camp. Winter camp was sort of our thing where I'd pick him up. He'd make me a cup of tea at home while he was still packing, because he was always late.
You can tell he liked you, because he made you a cup of tea. He always made a cup of tea for the people he liked.
Yeah, always. And his house was immaculate. I used to go in with proper house envy, actually, because he was always really neat and tidy. And you just get in the car, and he was just like to be driven. We drive and then we chat about anything and everything. And he was just the most amazing listener, and was always, even whether he wasn't interested, you always knew he always thought he was interested in you, and remembered stuff you told him. He was just a great friend. I think I'm one of the few privileged people that could say he was my friend.
Yeah.
And that, you know, and I do miss him. So we used to speak nearly every day. He would phone for silly stuff.
Yeah.
And as also as everybody else has said, he was a great one for not actually using his minutes up on his phone or using his phone. He'd ring you, drop the phone, so you had to ring him back.
Yeah. That was always a good thing of it. You say, "Oh, I've got a missed call. Who's that from?" So, "Oh,
yeah." Sometimes you'd ring back and somebody else in the office would answer the phone, and you knew he was trying to ring while he was in work, and he'd been caught, so he dropped the phone for that reason. But he was also great. He was also great for making you feel good. He always knew every woman was on a diet. So the first thing he'd always say to you is, "Looking good, girlfriend. You've lost some weight," even though you knew you hadn't. But he always knew what to say to make you feel really good.
Yeah, definitely.
And also, I knew when I sort of think there was a few incidents like when he was poorly at summer camp, and I drove him to the hospital in Barnstable, and that was a bit scary. And the nurse said, and I said to him, "If they think I'm your wife, you're in trouble, mate," sort of thing, just to make it lighten up the situation.
Yeah.
But he was just the most perfect gentleman ever. He was so polite. He just was amazing, and never paid a bill. Always got you to buy dinner, and everybody else would have one course. He'd have 3 courses because somebody else was paying. But that was him, and you didn't mind because he was just the most lovely man with it all.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, I sort of agree with all that, and it's funny because most people that knew him at that time would probably say the same thing. But obviously, we've had a few people here talking about him and what he was like, and the fact that he was so friendly to everyone. And I think that's why I've never really got over him really. Even at times when I'm sure you had this experience. You'd be driving home late at night, and all of a sudden the phone would ring, and it'd be him. I think, and then he'd sort of like put some music on, and he wouldn't even talk. He'd just have the music on, saying, "Oh, listen to this," and you'd be just there laughing. Because he had this music on, and you could hear him sort of singing in the background. And you knew the other thing you knew was he was dancing in his car, because he always loved dancing and moving in his car. So no, that's brilliant. No, thanks for that sort of insight really into your thoughts about him. We're still sad that he's gone, but I'm trying to just let everybody know what type of guy he was. And
I'm really sorry for anybody that didn't know him, because he just made such a difference in everybody's lives. And like you say, even now, sometimes I go, I wish I could phone him and tell him something.
Yeah.
When my grandchildren were born and stuff like that, it was just like he would have been so happy and proud, and it's just these times that you want to share stuff with him.
Yeah.
And you just can't anymore. And I just feel sorry for everybody that didn't have that relationship with him, because he was just an amazing friend to his friends.
Well, I've actually got, while you're there, I've got a little note from Mr. Dennis Salt from Derby, part of Human Martial Arts, and he just put a few lines here, and he said, Master Johnny Black 8th degree was and still is well known and respected throughout martial arts. It will be hard to find anyone more dedicated to Taekwondo and always there to support Puma. We all remember him as a great martial artist, fitness freak, very approachable, would talk to anyone, great sense of humor, do almost anything for a laugh. To me, he was a good friend, colleague, great company, and much more. Johnny may be gone, but never forgotten. That's love and respect from Dennis Salt, which again sums it up quite well, really.
That's so perfect in a few sentences, and it's just exactly what he was.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks for that, Michelle. I really appreciate you just taking a bit of time there just to chat about him, and we'll chat to you again soon. And thank you very much for everyone again. Who's had some input into this Master Black podcast, and hopefully we'll catch up with all of you soon. Thank you.